Sorry, I turned off the music.
Why would you do that?
Well, I don't know if we're ready to separate the transmission quite yet. Oh, that's the starter. I'm sorry. Alright guys, I recorded a video with my son where we worked on a sandrail that we picked up. It's an odd sandrail. It's a VW style one, but it has a 6-cylinder air-cooled Covair engine on it. And I found it a little bit more difficult to find parts on that, or even understand it. On some level, it's a mid-engine because the engine's right behind you, but the transmission's behind that, and the axles come off of that. It's a Volkswagen transmission hooked up to a Covair engine, so it's already a weird one. The starter situation was even different because I had a Covair engine starter with a nose adapter that caused some problems, and everybody I tried to get a new starter from said, nah, you need a different starter. And I got the starter, and that one was turning the wrong way. So I was shooting fuel out of my carburetor because the engine was going backwards. I'm off track. Okay, so at any rate, I finally got this whole thing built up. I'm ready to go, having a great time. Let my son drive it, and he blew out the clutch. So here we are. We're going to replace the clutch on it. I didn't know what was wrong on it, or even how to take the clutch out on this one. Turns out the clutch wasn't bad, the friction plate wasn't bad, the pressure plate wasn't bad, even the throwout bearings weren't bad. There's just two little spring clips that hold the throwout bearing to the, I guess we'll call it the clutch fork, and those broke. But I didn't know that, so I asked people who specialize in dune buggies and VWs what they would recommend, and they gave me this clutch kit. I liked it a lot better than what was on there. I've never seen that kind of a clutch before. So at any rate, there's the back history for it. Hopefully check in with past James, well, more past James. We'll check in with me and my son, see where we're at now. Alright, we're getting started out of the way, and oh, what is that? Look at that. That seems important. Seems like a spring that holds the clutch on. So I got 2 of these in my kit. A little bit of metal in there. We're gonna hope for the best, because that's all I got. Also, you'll notice that's wrong. That's another story. We'll worry about that later. You slide that back. Can I go back any further?
I'm trying to get all the oil that's in the boot out.
It's in the boot. Are you Canadian now?
Yeah, I'm all about that.
All right. Not sure if we needed to do that, but we'll find out. Well, guys, that was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. I was going to just take the axles out. This VW transmission, but that turned into a bigger effort than I wanted it to be. The headers had to come off because the transmission bolt or mount right there, these bolts were just spinning, so I couldn't even separate those, and I still had to pull this thing apart and separate it. So I had to disconnect the mounts. There's just one bolt on each mount. I have a jack underneath the engine supporting the engine. Because really the transmission is what holds the engine on in the back. There's no engine mounts in the back.
That's terrifying.
There's just engine mounts right about there on the front. So I got this separated, and I'm hoping that I have enough room to just pull this back out and do the clutch. So the clutch isn't looking so good if we look down in there. It's kind of hard to see down at the bottom. Focus. Metal shavings down there. You can see it better now. Ooh. Is that a thrust bearing? What is that? Focus. I've heard rumors of such a thing. But it looks like that's why the clutch wasn't working so well. So that's the clutch fork right there. That goes right to
It's a little crooked.
That guy right there. Well, something blew up. I guess I have to find out what it was. Well, I'm going to suspect it's these retaining rings that springs that broke off. That's why this whole thing fell apart. So now I get to replace the clutch, right?
Probably.
What do you got there?
The bearing.
The bearing.
Look how tiny that is.
Let's see where we go. I don't know if this is even the right thing, but we'll find out. All right, well, there's the old friction pad there. I don't know. It doesn't look horrible. It doesn't smell too bad. I heard this one was hot spots. Where you see the hot spots?
All the discoloration.
I don't know. Doesn't seem grooved very hard to me.
I didn't say groove.
I know.
Hot spots.
This is the style that was on there. I don't know if this is the heavy-duty dune style one, but this is the one that was recommended to me by the guys there at Doug's Bugs and Bunnies. This is more of your standard clutch with a
I can actually push that one in.
You can push that one in manually.
A little bit.
All right. Well, it does seem to me like that's a poor design. Doesn't have an even spring on it, whereas this one,
I feel safer with that one.
right?
Drilled some holes into that. Countersunk them.
Well, it doesn't seem like a high quality clutch, but I guess that is where they balance, like you said.
Another hole right there.
I mean, maybe this one's been balanced too, but I don't see it balanced. 'Cause I did notice that.
I think these holes are for the balance. There's a little.
Ah, got it. There is a weight right there for balance. Nice. I was saying this one looks a little bit warped, but I don't know. I think the biggest problem is just the two springs broke.
Yeah, look,
on the spare.
check it out. It popped off a little bit ago, and it's been just grinding right there.
Oh, has it?
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's when the engine was running, because it would not idle because there was too much of a load on it. So that must have been hitting here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing a Project Farm bearing test. It failed.
But look at that.
I know. Honestly, that seems like a better throwout bearing because the other one's got a press, like a stamp press steel cage around it. I don't know.
Second opinion.
Well, I guess the new clutch is installed. So yeah, in hindsight, don't bother taking the axles apart. Just take the brake lines off. I don't even disconnect them. Just trailing arm and transmission mounts. Weirdo. Alright, so I guess we just pulled the pin. I guess we're gonna call that good. But good thing I got that, huh? Alright, let's put this transmission back together. Alright, well, it's all back together again. Right, we'll torque up these wheels and then we'll take it out. Torque?
Torquing's for losers.
Well, I got a breaker bar for torquing. Isn't that what it's for? Brake, torque, 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 torque.
Torque?
Torque. Yeah, so yeah, in hindsight, don't worry about the axles whatsoever. Just undo the trailing bolt right there for the trailing arm. Loosen up the brake lines off the axle. And then lift up the entire motor off the transmission mounts down there. And then separate that transmission. That's pretty straightforward. A lot easier if we would have done it the right way. Would have wasted a lot of time.
Sometimes.
Probably shouldn't leave those there. Those are extra. We don't need those.
Totally.
Alright, we're on the ground. We'll torque those up and then we'll actually see what's going on. Well, I got it over here. Moved over its own power. That's so far a good thing. Everything seems to be going okay. fuel in this is really, really bad. The carburetor needs to be cleaned really bad. It's been sitting for a long time. So I guess I'm gonna take this around. Well, so there you have it, guys. New clutch is installed. It was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I made it more difficult than it had to be, and because I took those half shaft axles off, I ended up having to put new fluid in the transmission anyway. So I did a fluid flush on my transmission where I was at it. I didn't do too much adjustment on the clutch. That slave cylinder, I just tightened down that nut and it's working pretty well. It's engaging a lot better than it ever did. So I think this clutch is a lot better. A lot. At any rate, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot, guys. Hey, I'm gonna do a U-turn. Watch me. Take a video of it. All I have to do is hold the camera, okay?
It's blue. That's like 5 extra horsepower.
Well, definitely more agility.